The story begins with a man named Barry carrying heavy bags of cash into his house. Fear grips him as he looks at the fortune. He has absolutely no place left to hide it. His home is overflowing, and the backyard is fully used. Everywhere he digs, his shovel hits old stacks of buried money. Desperate, Barry goes to the horse stable to hide the new stash. The moment he pulls the door open, a massive wall of money falls right on top of him. Hundreds of dollar bills scatter across the dirt floor. Life was not always this chaotic or wealthy for Barry. Just a few years before, he was a regular commercial airline pilot. He had a beautiful girlfriend, a stable job, and a comfortable lifestyle. Barry truly believed his life would continue on this smooth, predictable path forever. Danger, however, had a different plan. One evening, while relaxing in a hotel room during a layover, a mysterious bearded man walked in. The stranger immediately began blackmailing him, accusing Barry of smuggling luxury cigars for extra cash. Sweat poured down Barry's face as panic set in. If this secret got out, his reputation would be completely destroyed. The aviation authority would take away his license, leaving him with absolutely nothing. Sensing the pilot's deep terror, the intruder smiled and revealed his true identity. He was Monty, an undercover CIA agent. Monty wasted no time and introduced Barry to his special team. They drove the pilot to a highly classified aircraft hangar. Barry's eyes widened in pure amazement when he saw the plane waiting inside. It was the fastest twin-engine aircraft of that era, showing raw power. Barry stared at the sleek machine with absolute respect. Smiling at the reaction, Monty laid out the high-stakes mission. Barry had to fly this special plane deep into hostile Central American airspace. He needed to fly just above the treetops, staying dangerously low to snap secret surveillance photographs. Because the operation was top secret, Barry could not say a word to anyone. He had to keep his own girlfriend, Lucy, completely in the dark. Barry did not care about the huge risk. He was simply desperate to fly the aircraft of his dreams. Monty threw open the hangar doors, clearing Barry for a thrilling test flight. Back home, Barry lied to Lucy, claiming he was leaving the airline for a lucrative corporate offer. He carefully left out every single detail regarding the spying. Lucy found the sudden career move incredibly suspicious. She could not understand why a captain would abandon a prestigious airline for an unknown startup. That very night, midway through a routine commercial flight, Barry walked out of the cockpit forever. A wild new chapter had officially begun. Barry was now Monty's ultimate asset. He flew dangerous routes deep into Central America, dodging anti-aircraft fire to get intelligence photos. Every single run was a brush with death, yet Barry found himself hooked on the adrenaline. When Monty showed the aerial photos to Washington superiors, the entire room erupted in praise. Despite the professional success, Barry kept Lucy completely sheltered from his dangerous reality. The couple eventually married and welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world. However, the CIA intelligence work paid surprisingly poorly. Barry finally confronted his handler, stating he could not support a growing family on pocket change. Monty completely ignored the financial plea. Instead, he immediately reassigned Barry to a brand new operational route in Panama. Barry was already an experienced pro, so he executed the flight path flawlessly. By the time 1980 arrived, the game changed forever. While refueling his aircraft at a remote Colombian airstrip, three heavily armed men surrounded Barry. They forced him into an unmarked vehicle at gunpoint. With no good escape route, Barry sat quietly as they drove deep into the jungle. The vehicle pulled up to a massive compound, where Barry met the infamous Pablo Escobar. Pablo casually revealed he knew Barry's identity and his secret aerial photography work. Terrified, Barry stammered that he merely worked for an independent company, not the government. Pablo burst into loud laughter, fully aware of the CIA connection. The cartel leader smiled, explaining he had no intention of hurting the talented pilot. He needed Barry to smuggle massive shipments of illegal cargo directly into the US. Pablo took Barry on a tour of his massive ranch, outlining the logistical nightmare of his current transport system. He offered Barry a staggering $2,000 for every single kilogram delivered. Barry's eyes lit up as he realized this side job would make him richer beyond his wildest dreams. The operation, however, had one fatal flaw. Pablo's custom jungle runway was terribly short, and several less talented pilots had already crashed there. Barry boldly suggested making the runway longer, noting that money was clearly not an issue. Pablo turned cold, telling Barry to take the job as it was or get out. The sharp rejection hurt Barry's professional pride. He became fiercely determined to prove he could lift a heavy plane off that tiny strip of asphalt. Barry looked Pablo in the eye and stated the deliveries would happen on his own terms. He pointed to an open coordinate on the map, suggesting he drop the cargo from the air. Pablo agreed to the airborne drop and ordered his men to load the aircraft. As Barry prepared the cockpit, he noticed a cartel guard sitting in the co-pilot seat. Barry firmly refused, explaining the heavy cargo left zero margin for extra passenger weight. Pablo ordered the guard to step down. As a parting gesture, the kingpin handed Barry a gold cross for good luck. Barry tacked backseat away, completely unaware that Pablo and his henchmen were actively betting cash on whether he would crash. Barry used every ounce of his piloting skill, straining the engines. The overloaded plane dipped terrifyingly close to the ground before roaring upward, clipping the jungle canopy. The moment Barry crossed into U.S. airspace, military radar tracking systems flagged his unrecognized aircraft. Oblivious to the electronic eyes watching him, Barry focused entirely on his coordinates. He turned on the autopilot, opened the fuselage belly hatch, and released the cargo into the drop zone. The delivery was a perfect success. When Barry returned to Colombia, the Escobar brothers threw a massive celebration, handing him duffel bags of cash. The joy was short-lived, as heavily armed government soldiers suddenly entered the compound. Pablo calmly told Barry to stay hidden while he went outside to handle the raid. Barry froze as heavy gunfire echoed through the walls. Terrified, Barry grabbed his cash bags and ran outside, only to be tackled and handcuffed by the military. A few days later, Pablo's high-priced lawyers secured the cartel's release, leaving Barry entirely alone in a bleak prison cell. As Barry sat bruised and broken, Monty suddenly walked into the facility. The agent calmly informed Barry that federal drug smuggling charges were being filed against him. He warned that a massive task force would raid Barry's family home the following morning. Barry wept, desperate to protect his wife and child from the fallout. He begged his handler for an escape route, completely blind to the fact that Monty was pulling the strings. Monty offered a deal, explaining that a sudden revolution had just overthrown a neighboring Central American government. The U.S. administration wanted to secretly supply weapons to the local rebel forces without leaving any American fingerprints. Monty needed a ghost pilot for the operation. He told Barry he could not erase his record, but ordered him to move his family to Mena, Arkansas. With the clock ticking, Barry rushed home, shoved a confused Lucy into the car, and fled the state. They arrived in Mena, a tiny, isolated town of just 2,000 residents. They pulled up to a broken-down farmhouse arranged by the agency. Monty was already waiting on the property to deliver a massive surprise. He presented Barry with a massive 2,000-acre private airport completely free of charge. Barry stood paralyzed, unable to understand the sudden generosity from a man who previously refused him a raise. Monty opened a massive wooden crate filled with military-grade assault rifles. Barry's new directive was to smuggle these weapons directly to the foreign rebels. To ensure success, Monty provided a special military map detailing radar blind spots and troop movements. He also handed Barry a heavy bag of cash previously seized from the cartel. Barry finally had enough security to confess the whole truth to his wife. Lucy was initially furious about being dragged from a vibrant city to an isolated wasteland with no modern appliances. Barry cut her anger short by dumping thousands of dollars across the floor, promising she could buy whatever she wanted. The sudden wealth instantly calmed her fears. By 1981, Barry's weapons pipeline to Nicaragua was fully operating. However, the local rebels showed absolutely zero interest in fighting or using the firearms. Instead, they roughed Barry up, stealing his designer sunglasses and shoes. A furious Barry called Monty, who coldly replied that their political motivation was not Barry's concern. On his next weapons run, Barry brought a heavy baseball bat for personal protection. To his utter shock, Pablo Escobar and his brothers were waiting at the rebel camp. The cartel had cleverly funded the fake revolution just to secure safe passage into America. Pablo offered Barry a fortune to restart their old smuggling arrangement. Backed by Monty's perfect military radar map, Barry accepted the offer, knowing the risk of getting caught was virtually zero. Over the following months, Barry operated a seamless double life, dropping guns in Nicaragua and flying narcotics back into America. The cash flow became an unstoppable tidal wave. The logistics grew so massive that Barry hired 4 additional pilots to manage the nightly flights. Seeing the success, the CIA expanded the program, demanding Barry transport the foreign rebels to Arkansas for military training. When Barry asked where to house the guerrilla fighters, Monty reminded him of his vast acreage. The plan failed spectacularly. The poor rebels had absolutely no desire to fight a war. They escaped into the American countryside the moment they landed. Barry ignored the political failure, focusing entirely on his severe money laundering problem. He had far too much physical cash to safely deposit into traditional bank accounts. He spread the wealth across local businesses, bought season tickets for the entire town, and bought Lucy a fleet of luxury cars. He stuffed money into the walls, floors, and buried millions in the yard. Amid the chaos, Lucy's deadbeat brother, JB, arrived looking for a handout. Lucy insisted Barry give him a job rather than a free ride. Barry placed JB on hangar cleaning duty to keep him occupied. One afternoon, Barry watched in disbelief as JB pulled up in a luxury sports car. Lucy was furious, realizing her brother had stolen from the operation. When confronted, JB casually admitted to finding a cash bag hidden in a plane hangar. Barry's inner circle was breaking apart. 2 years later, federal agencies finally closed in. The DEA launched a high-speed pursuit, but Barry outsmarted them by flying circles over the ocean until the government planes ran out of fuel. The FBI soon descended on Mina, deeply suspicious of the sudden economic boom in the tiny town. During a subsequent smuggling run, the Border Patrol deployed identical aircraft to box Barry in. Realizing he was trapped, Barry executed a dangerous emergency landing directly onto a public highway. He abandoned the aircraft, handed a wad of cash to a kid for a bicycle, and pedaled away into the night. Before he could recover, Pablo called with terrifying news. The cartel was fleeing Colombia and setting up a new base in Nicaragua. Barry immediately flew out to meet them. Back in Mina, an oblivious JB grabbed another stolen cash bag and drove to a local restaurant to celebrate. Paralyzed by the sight of state troopers eating lunch, JB panicked and fled, leading to his immediate arrest. When Lucy called with the news, Barry rushed back and hired the top defense attorney in the state. Pablo, worried the boy would talk under interrogation, offered to permanently resolve the JB problem. Barry frantically declined the violent assistance, knowing it would end in bloodshed. The moment JB stepped out of jail on bail, Barry forced him into a car. He handed him a fake passport, flight tickets, and a lifetime supply of cash, ordering him to leave the country. JB grew hostile, threatening to expose the entire operation unless he received monthly hush money. He then insulted Lucy, causing Barry to lose his temper. As Barry stepped out to drag him from the vehicle, JB hit the gas pedal and sped down the road. Seconds later, a massive car bomb went off, destroying the vehicle and sending burning cash raining from the sky. A stunned Barry knew instantly that Pablo had organized the hit. He quietly towed the charred wreckage into the deep woods. At the same time, Washington discovered that their secret weapons had been traded directly to international drug cartels. The CIA realized the entire training initiative was a total failure and ordered Monty to shut it down. When Barry saw the base being taken apart, he asked his handler for his next assignment. Monty gave a vague response and walked away forever. Barry knew he was completely exposed. The following morning, Monty ordered his staff to burn every single document linking the CIA to Barry. As Barry prepared to flee the country, an army of federal agencies raided the property, taking him into custody. Sitting in the federal prosecutor's office, a desperate Barry attempted to bribe the agents, offering hundreds of millions of dollars for his freedom. Suddenly, the lead prosecutor received an urgent phone call from Washington. The official returned to the room, looking completely defeated, and ordered Barry's handcuffs removed. A mysterious black sedan was waiting outside to transport Barry directly to an airfield, where a private jet took him straight to the White House. The administration's top military leaders laid out a final, terrifying directive. They ordered Barry to return to Nicaragua and photograph Pablo Escobar actively loading drugs. This would provide the ultimate political proof. Barry accepted the suicide mission, fully aware that if Pablo discovered the camera, death would be slow. After a tearful goodbye to Lucy, Barry flew directly into a violent tropical storm. The moment he landed in Nicaragua, cartel soldiers aimed rifles at his chest. Pablo appeared, initially ordering his execution before bursting into laughter. It was a cruel joke. Barry delivered the weapons, while his co-pilot secretly turned on a hidden military camera, capturing clear footage of the cartel leaders. The mission was a total success. The victory was short-lived. To score a political point, the government broadcasted the surveillance photos on national television, completely exposing Barry's face. Pablo watched the broadcast and immediately sent an elite hit squad to eliminate the traitor. Simultaneously, federal authorities turned on Barry, seizing every piece of property he owned. The night before the seizure, Barry put Lucy in her most expensive jewelry, telling her to run because authorities could not take items worn on her person. Lucy wept but left for the sake of the children. The next morning, the FBI stripped the house bare. Barry was left entirely alone, with no family and no fortune. He received a light sentence but lived in absolute terror, changing motels every night to dodge the cartel. Ultimately, a hitman tracked him down, executing him in his front seat. True ambition always carries a massive price tag. Please like this video, leave a comment about your favorite part, and subscribe for more amazing stories.